Michael. I'm glad to have you here. Let's start off by why don't you tell our audience about you and why we should listen to you?
Yeah, so I have probably made the mistakes that you're going to make. I started my whole career by dropping out of the first time I went to college. When most of my professors got poached back to the private sector, I decided to take some time off, go learn to code, and try to join a startup in Mountain View, California, which I did. Then I led their initial MVP development and moved over to the operations and marketing side, where I helped get us to about 30 enterprise clients.
Wow.
After that, I moved into growth strategy consulting for small and medium-sized B2B businesses. And for everyone out there who doesn't know, B2B means business to business. And I've really stayed in that range ever since. So my clients sell to large businesses or small businesses. They'll sell to anyone, but I really work with companies under about 100 employees.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that I focus on. And then Call for Content, what I'm doing now is a content marketing agency. That's built out of me just seeing how many customers struggled with positioning themselves in the market and seeing the content was the best way to do that. And so that's me setting that up so I can go consult growth strategy and make sure all my customers have everything set up for when I come in.
Yeah. So what do you look for when you're going into these growth strategy sessions?
I look for inefficiencies first. So because of the companies I work with, the first thing I look to is technology. Are they using software from 10 years ago? We're just putting in the new version, might save them,
Right.
100 hours a day. And that's step one. Step two is mapping out a customer journey and looking where do they first make contact with our brand all the way to what does our customer support or customer success look like on the back end.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about the call for content. How did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I was working with clients as a growth strategist, and the number one issue I saw was they weren't positioned well in the market. I was working with a client who was a digital media network at the time, and I saw how well they were able to use their content to position themselves, but then how poorly, because of their position as a digital media company, how poorly positioned they were to take advantage of that.
Okay.
And so taking the same practices from digital media and applying them to a business and their own media allows a business to become the media, become the voice in their industry. And you might hear it called thought leadership. You might hear it called content marketing. You might hear it called any of 1,000 things. But at the end of the day, we're using content to get customers.
Right.
And I have a few specialized processes that we use internally with both podcasts and blogs. But that's really the basis point.
So what do you do to stay up to date on what the latest thing is and what businesses should do to promote their business?
I don't. I don't read the news or like shitty blogs or tips online. And if somebody's telling you it, unless they're using it to get you to buy some other thing they do that's more complex, they're probably not giving you the best advice.
Okay.
So the way we prove that everything we put out at Call for Content works for our content is all the content we put out is the stuff we actually do. But I see influencers and Forbes article writers and entrepreneur writers, and almost everything they put out is shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to say that without much of a question because good content isn't 500 words.
Right.
Good content is however many words it takes to explain the thing you're trying to explain.
Gotcha. So were you on the leading edge of seeing like the podcasts and blogs and things like that coming around?
So I'm not quite that old for the blogs. That was about 20 years ago now. I'm only 25. But for podcasts, I've definitely watched them come up over the past few years. And podcasts are really going through the same phases that blogs went through.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the eras of everyone just getting things started, you get your first few icons, then you move into networks, then you move into consolidation, then you move into really building out the ad networks around these properties. Podcasting is going through all of that now. And podcasting, it's a lot harder to do it for a lot of those things.
Right.
So we're learning as we go. But that's where my technical background has come into play the most, is with the issues around podcasting are all technical now.
Okay. What do you see as the next big thing for marketing?
I mean, I know it sounds like a buzzword, but it's machine learning and AI.
Yeah.
Pattern analysis at scale is extremely difficult for humans to do. And that's where we're going to see results first. We've already seen, just in the past year and a half, 2 years, I've seen massive changes in automation around social media and email in particular, in terms of the sales that you can make using email marketing and the tactics you can perform.
Right.
As that has all increased in sophistication, we've seen marketers start to rely less and less on technology, I think. Because as we have more technology, you have to become more specialized to use it.
Definitely.
So as marketers, we have to step away from that and go back to the core foundations to understand the principles rather than trying to learn specific tools.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I definitely see AI and VR becoming the next big things. And for the old people out there, it's artificial intelligence and virtual reality. But going back to one of the emails you sent me where you were talking about the discussions that we could have, and one of them was how to be known for who you are and what you do. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's creating content. So I wrote a book early last year called the Authority Marketing Playbook, and that's actually the subtitle of it. So what had happened was, as I mentioned, I saw people running into issues. And as a consultant, I ran into the exact same issues that my clients did when I was starting my business. So I took a look, and the biggest factor to impact within a B2B sale is trust. The best way to establish trust is, at least in a B2B sale, in my opinion, is to make sure the other person knows that you are competent and an expert in the thing you're talking about, so you can perform whatever service or provide the software to solve their problem. Because if they trust you to do that, then they trust that you're an expert. Now, I can't make people trust you, but I can educate them. So I'm going to create content to do that. And the Authority Marketing Playbook, you can find at callforcontent.com/AMP. That is my 101, essentially. That's what is authority, what are the basic principles we need to understand about it to use it, and how do we get started today with creating content or with proving our authority to a targeted audience. And that comes down to partnerships and creating content. Why those two? They don't cost any money.
What do you think is the biggest key to creating successful partnerships?
Choosing the right partners. But really, choosing the right partners. Most people go in blind. When I approach somebody for a partnership, I have my deck done. I know exactly what I want from them, exactly what they need to do, and all they need to do is say yes.
That's good. Yeah. So what's one of the main things you look for? Like maybe like honesty, loyalty, trustworthiness. I don't know, something like that.
In a partner?
In a partner. Yeah.
Clients, revenue,
Yeah.
traffic. I focus on content partnerships when I get started. So that's either creating a piece of content together or exchanging guest posts of some sort.
Right.
And For those, the most important thing is a captive audience. For something like a referral partnership that I put together, the most important thing is actually having referrals to pass on to me. For some of the larger venture deals that I put together, then it becomes a matter of skill set and what they can bring to the table. If I'm partnering with somebody to launch a company, then we need very different things than if I'm partnering to launch a podcast or just write an ebook together.
Right. So what would your advice be to someone starting their own business? They want to become an influencer of some sort. They want to start their own podcast. How would you say they should start marketing themselves?
They shouldn't. They should just create content and then network. Targeted networking will produce better results if you're selling in B2B. And I go back to that again and again, that B2B, because most businesses don't have $10,000 or $20,000 clients unless they're selling to other businesses.
Right.
And you need those big numbers to be able to wait out for content, because it's not today, it's 6 months from now that matters. And taking that long-term vision is what you need to do when you work with content. And it's what you need to do when you're planning to build a business and become an influencer or do that sort of thing with it. So my newest content marketing campaign for Call for Content started in January. We really got rolling in April, and the leads are just starting to pick up now. We might have had a handful over the prior 3 months, but it's this month when we're actually starting to see consistency.
Gotcha.
And so it's a big lag, and you have to have the capital and the resources and the planning to be prepared to carry all the way through that and forward.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the talk test that you had mentioned.
Yeah. So the talk test is how I prove that you actually know what you're talking about. It's pretty simple. If you're not willing to do a 4-hour workshop or give a keynote speech on the topic at hand, you're not enough of an expert in it to really brand yourself or to use authority marketing or content marketing to really get out there with it.
So back to the marketing side of things. What are your thoughts on like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads?
I really like LinkedIn ads.
LinkedIn?
Because I'm B2B. I like Facebook for selling to small to medium-sized businesses. And I think that if you're trying to be an influencer of some sort, you should be using ads. Not a big fan of Twitter's ads. I've seen good results with Instagram for e-commerce in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with Facebook. You can really get results there. But if you're doing content or if you're in B2B, I'd say skip ads to start. If you're in e-com or if you're trying to promote your brand or if you're trying to, say, grow a podcast, then Facebook, Instagram, those are great ad outlets, and you can get pretty cheap prices once you get going. But you need to build up enough of a list to start building a lookalike for targeting.
Gotcha.
So expect to put in a few thousand to really get going.
Yeah. What books do you suggest for marketing if someone wants to learn how to become a marketer such as yourself?
Read Ogilvy. Yeah, Ogilvy, like OG marketer. Ogilvy Mather, if you've heard of them.
Sounds familiar.
They're one of the biggest ad agencies in the world, maybe the biggest. They're not bad at marketing. They've been doing it for a while. They know how to write excellent ads, and David Ogilvy put out some of the best books on ads. Luke Sullivan put out a book called Hey Whipple, Squeeze This. It's a great one on copywriting and ad design. Traction is the only book on startup marketing strategy you will ever need. That's by Gabriel Weinberg and Justin Mars, I believe, or Mares. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but Mares. Those would be the core books for marketing.
Have you read the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing?
That sounds really familiar. I might have back in the day. I
No,
I read about a book a week or so, so get
I
through
know.
them.
I know people like Tim Ferriss and a few of those other guys have mentioned the 22 immutable laws of marketing before.
Yeah, I mean, my real question would be, are those guys marketers?
That's good. Yeah.
That's that's my rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Um, don't. So this is just me hating on someone, but Neil Patel is a really smart guy. His content is shit. Like his guides on SEO are out of date on QuickSprout and some of those websites that he's got. So he's a big influencer in the space, and you're going to end up touching his information. But I really would take it with a grain of salt because most of it's outdated.
Yeah. So what's a daily habit that has really helped you in your life and business and anything, honestly?
I mean, it's hard to think of one that hasn't, but
Yeah.
I'm a big fan on daily rituals. In the morning, I start out by watching 15 minutes of stand-up comedy. I like to start the day with a laugh. From there, I'll move into meditation and day planning and working out, and then eating breakfast. I'm a big fan of the high fat protein breakfasts and
Hmm.
very low carb for breakfast. I eat pretty low carb overall, but I think that focusing on fat and protein for breakfast is probably one of the biggest things that's made a difference for me, honestly. It gives you so much more energy for the day ahead, and you don't have any of the pre lunch crashes or anything like
Right.
that.
Uh, my last podcast episode was about meditation, actually. I was just wondering what your
Awesome.
meditation looks like.
So I've been meditating for a little over a decade now.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I started young, but that nowadays I try to focus on my biggest issue for the day ahead. And so I'll think about that for 3 to 5 minutes, maybe write it out myself and do sort of a guided writing exercise around that. And then I'll sit and clear my mind for the next anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes, depending on how much time I have in that day. And normally when I get out of that, and I'll go work out right afterwards. So I'm getting really an extended time away from this thought after just putting in some focus to it.
Right.
When I come back to it after all that stuff, I normally have a good path forward at least, or
Hmm.
at least a few good ideas on how to move forward from there. And that it's a long process, but it's really helped me put meditation to use because I found that if you just meditate to calm yourself all the time, it it dulls the edge, so to
Right.
speak.
Yeah, I know through meditation, it almost helps rewire your brain to think differently and to help you solve the problems that you're facing in your life at that point in time. And like you were saying, if you just take a break from thinking about that for a moment, it's almost like putting it on the back burners of your mind, and your brain's figuring it out while you're doing other stuff. And it's really powerful once you implement it into your life.
Yeah, and really, I think not enough people pay attention to that.
Yeah.
That most of our like, if you take in a lot of information or you have information to sort through, your brain does not do that actively.
Right. It
So
does it
stop
subconsciously.
trying.
Yeah. Who are your top three role models? And this can be for, the marketing side of things or just in life.
Alive or dead?
Doesn't matter.
Fictional, okay?
Sure.
All right. So number one is Ender Wiggin from Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card.
Yeah.
It's an older book, my personal favorite book of all time,
Did you see the movie?
probably. No, uh, for many reasons, but mainly because I didn't want to have like this perfect image of my favorite book ruined.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, and that movie project dragged out for many years. Um, I was going to see it when I first heard about it, though, about a
Yeah.
long time ago. Anyway, after Ender, I really like his philosophy on leadership and going to war. Uh, and then after that, I'd say Ogilvy is probably my favorite guy for copywriting and marketing. And then Chuck Feeney would be number 3.
Chuck Feeney, who's that?
Yeah. So have you been out of the country and seen a duty-free store in an airport?
I don't think so.
Okay. So he opened this chain of duty-free stores, duty-free being tax-free from import taxes, I
Right.
believe. So he started this chain of duty-free companies and became a billionaire through that and a couple other
Oh,
business
wow.
ventures, and then gave away all his money,
Jeez.
literally all of it, to philanthropy. He kept it secret for like decades. And then in the past like 10 years has this all come out that he did this. He took a pretty active role in the bad times in Ireland and helped establish peace there. In his latest, there's like he's done a huge amount and not talked about it.
That's incredible. And his name's Chuck what?
Chuck Feeney.
Chuck Feeney.
Yeah.
Look this guy up.
The book that I read on him that's amazing is The Billionaire Who Wasn't. But for investing, I'd say Warren Buffett.
Right.
I'm a value investor, hands down. And a lot of people say they follow Warren Buffett, don't, because they're not value investors. But if you actually follow that, you're probably not going to lose.
Right. Talking about influencers and role models, what are your thoughts on Ty Lopez? Because I know he does a lot with
Who?
Ty Lopez. He does a lot with social media marketing.
I've never heard of the guy, so that
I thought you would have heard of him.
that shows you like my sort of I stay pretty closed, as I might have mentioned. I don't really consume media.
Right. Well,
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
you
Seems
should.
interesting though. Yeah, I don't like him. I can tell. I'm looking at his website now, and I don't like or trust him from the front page of his website.
Why is that?
Because anyone with a picture of themselves standing in front of nice cars like that, without actual license plates on the cars, is not the guy I trust to give me good advice. Also, he's obviously monetizing his brand
Definitely.
through a variety of ways, some of which I'm guessing are ad-based, and I can't trust somebody who does that.
You've probably seen him on YouTube before. He's the guy that always says, "Here in my garage," and has all his Lambos in there.
I don't watch YouTube.
What do you do in your free time?
What do you mean?
You don't have free time?
No, I have work time. There's time when I'm working, and then there's other time when I'm working. Like my work is my life, right?
Right.
If you're not an entrepreneur, that's not. And if you are an entrepreneur and your work is not your life, then you're fucking up.
Right.
Pardon my language there, but it is very true. I follow a discipline I built for myself called lazy entrepreneurship, which says we put the minimum effort into all projects required to make them succeed. And because I have money, that means I put more money in than time to most things, which
Right.
gives me more time to read and network and be friends with cool people. I do business with my friends sometimes. It's bad advice, but most of my friends are also entrepreneurs.
Right.
Yeah, and that has really helped me, I think, is just merging work and life so I don't have free time. I don't own a TV. I don't think there is no argument that somebody could make that would make me want to spend all my time on social media or even spend time consuming most of this. The only people I follow and actually look at are my clients who are asking me to give them input on their social media strategy.
Right. So do you follow any podcasts or anything like that to add value to yourself?
I read books, and I have a podcast or two, and I meet with people who are experts in their field. I really prefer books and human conversation
Right.
and learning those ways to that. Yeah, I don't really listen to any podcasts regularly, including my own. Um, I don't. Yeah, I'm really a book guy. I have a library card. Uh,
Not too many people have those nowadays.
yeah, though you can get ebooks now,
Right.
which is really nice.
But from the library?
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
there's an app called Libby, Libby, by Overdrive, I think is the search for it, and that allows you to get ebooks out from your library.
Right. Um, what would you say is your definition of success?
Well, for me, um, success is reaching the goal that I would like as my life's goal. Um, and, I've got a list of those, and I intend to reach them. The cost, the number on those is somewhere around 5 million in US 2008 dollars. So that's what I'm moving towards.
Yeah.
Um, I really think that most people don't spend enough time defining success for themselves. I know where I'm going, and so I know how hard I need to work to get there. But if you don't know both, then how do you know you're going to be able to get there in the first place,
Right.
or that you're going in the right direction?
What would you say is like one of your top 2 or 3 goals on that list that you've created?
I'd like a farm in a green zone. Um, that's the expensive item on that list. Is a working farm in a green zone that's off grid. The other one is to make sure that I spend at least a year straight living out of the country, because I've only lived a few months at a time. So I'd really like to go for the full year. Those are probably the two biggest right now, though I think more will come up over my lifetime.
For sure.
And I did think of one blog that I follow.
All right, let's hear it.
Wait, but why?
Wait, but why?
Yeah, it's
What
all
is that
long
about?
form. It's long form articles on life and work. Um, the career article that came out recently is amazing. I highly recommend going through everything in it. If you don't know what you want to do with your life, that'll get you there. Really everything on that site is great, but they're irregular updates, and the articles, I think the shortest one's like 8,000 words.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really a very different blog than
Yeah,
the
for sure.
traditional.
For when you're writing call for content, what did the whole process look like? Because I know there's a lot of people and people who follow this podcast as well who are interested in writing their own books, but they're not really sure how to. What would you say to them?
Outline, talk through the points, record yourself talking, transcribe it, take the transcript, put the points that you talked about under the points in the outline, start editing. Repeat. It's a really effective system. It lets you put out content quickly. When I sit down to get started on an ebook, I generally get anywhere from half to 80% of the way in my first draft using it. We talk at about 150 words a minute. We don't write it that many. So just get your thoughts out first and then edit it down and then start moving forward. But getting through that first draft by speaking really helps get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I never thought about, speaking the first draft. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a big part of what we do.
Mm-hmm. What did the publication process look like?
So I self-published because I'm in B2B.
Right.
I don't care if anybody reads the book even. The only people I really want to read the book are the people who are on my list who might become a client, or the people that I give it to because I think it would benefit them. And as long as those people read it, and as long as I've written it so my team can read it internally, we've got everything we need out of it. So the publishing process was really me paying a guy in Guatemala $300 to lay it out as like a really pretty PDF that we could use as a printed workbook, and then putting it up online for sale.
Yeah. And where can we find this book besides the website? Is it available on like Amazon?
No. So this book now is only available through the website. It's
Okay.
free there. That's why you can't get it anywhere else now. You can download it, as I mentioned, callforcontent.com/AMP. The download's free. I'm not sure we even ask for an email to get the book. So
Sure,
get it.
better be happy about that.
Yeah, I answer every question I get on it or on content and authority marketing. So shoot me an email at michael@callforcontent.com if you'd like to ask any specific questions. We've also got a chat bot with the book on the page that will collect any questions for you, and then I'll answer them during our next Q&A.
Sweet.
So I've really tried to make the book a way for me to interact with audience and community and get to know the people who want to know me.
Awesome. What's one thing, I just thought of this question, what's one thing in marketing or you see people doing wrong in marketing that just absolutely drives you crazy?
Cold email. People do cold email wrong all the time. And a good cold email campaign is targeted, it's personalized, and it's designed for a purpose that is not sales, in my opinion. And the last one, I think, is really the thing that sets why I think everyone does cold email wrong. From my point of view, is spamming out 1,000 emails a month and hoping that you get that 3% return. Yes, we can guarantee numbers that way, and I love cold email when I need a baseline of numbers. But once you've got the baseline through inbound or some other way, I think cold email is best used in highly targeted formats for partnerships or to develop new relationships and just get the ball rolling. It's not to close the sale necessarily. It's just to open the door.
What's one question, and this can be about marketing or anything, that you've always wanted someone to ask you?
What should I do instead of going to college?
That's good. And what would be your answer?
Well, first I'd find out if they were paying for it themselves or not, because my answer is very different if you have no money and you're getting loans to go to college, which you should never do, because it will not produce ROI in almost every instance, unless you're going to like a top 10 school. And if you have the money, you should probably go travel, or you should go try to start a business, or you should go like volunteer full-time at a nonprofit and really put in some life experience, because I don't think you're definitely not ready to go to school at 18. You don't know what you want to do.
Right. That's why people change majors all the freaking time.
Yeah, like wait until you're 22. If you really want to go to school when you're 22 or 25, maybe you need it. But beyond that, just start putting out content about what you're doing in your free time. If you do those two things, you will get a job eventually.
Right.
And that's because if you're getting out there, you're networking, and the content acts as your trail of breadcrumbs to show what you've done. And that combo should eventually put somebody in your network who's looking for somebody kind of like you, because you hang around with people who have the same interests, and then maybe you'll get a job, or you just make a job for yourself.
Right.
That's where the real money is.
How can we connect with you? We've got callforcontent.com, and if you want the ebook /AMP at the end.
Yeah.
Where else can we find you?
So you can find me at Gent of Tech or /Gent of Tech, GENTOFTECH, on all social media that I'm on.
Awesome.
So that's LinkedIn and Medium and Twitter. I won't respond to you on Twitter, but maybe in another month I'll be back on it.
Right.
I will respond to you on LinkedIn, Medium's a crapshoot. I don't know if they have messaging.
All right, awesome, man. Well, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for being a role model to fellow marketers out there.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.